What are we trying to do in our sermons at City Church? 4 things. First, we're inviting people into a conversation. No one likes to feel preached at. We want you to feel like you're having a conversation with a friend in a coffee house or bar, less a judgmental monologue and more a respectful dialogue. Now, how do we try to do that? By taking seriously the questions, objections, and doubts a wide range of people have about the things we're saying, and then giving voice to them. For instance, if I say that Jesus didn't claim to be a way, but the way to know God, I might follow it up with, now, plenty of you are thinking, that's what bothers me about Christianity, exclusive truth claims like that. And then we'd visit briefly about it. To those less interested or more suspicious, this often feels disarming and invites them to engage in the conversation. We also quote a wide range of people, cultural thought leaders, Christians from across time, artists, authors, journalists, inviting them to be conversation partners with us. So the sermon feels a bit more like a roundtable discussion where we're exploring things together. Second, we want people to understand what we're saying. Often sermons are so cloaked in Christian subculture jargon that you miss a lot of what's said if you're not part of that particular church. We try to speak in a way that's especially understandable to those who aren't used to going to church or are newer to our church. It doesn't mean dumbing down the content, but being generous with the way we deliver it so that it's accessible to as many people as possible. For instance, if I use a technical term like covenant, I'm going to quickly explain it in a way that makes sense to those not familiar with it. We're trying not to preach to the choir, but to the empty seats. See, we want those present to think, not only does this speak to me, but my friend who doesn't go to church or who's disillusioned with the church could understand this and maybe even find it helpful. Third, thinking of the message as a meal, we're interested in the design of the menu. We map the sermons out for an entire year so you get an interesting scriptural culinary mix. Old and New Testament, variety of biblical cuisine, narrative, poetry, a dash of apocalyptic and wisdom literature, a sampling from the letters of the New and the prophets from the Old. We're asking ourselves, what are people hungering for? And what do they need to eat? A balanced diet over time that's not only nutritious and digestible, but also delicious. Fourth, we assume we're all the same. Created in the image of God, we all have inherent dignity and deserve respect. But if we're honest with ourselves, we're also all deeply flawed, in-process people. None of us have it all together. We're all humans with similar struggles, stresses, fears, desires, sorrows, temptations, and aspirations. We also all need the same remedy, not fancy formulas for self-improvement, but a sympathetic Savior who's come to heal us by his grace. The Bible isn't a rigid moral code to follow so God won't judge us, but a unified love story that features the striking beauty of the Lord who has pursued us and loved us to death. Showcasing Jesus is the priority of every sermon. Yes, we all need to be challenged, but in a way that avoids shame, stirs the imagination with the wonder of God's glory and grace, and whets the appetite with hope for the day when he will make all things new.